Welcome back to the haunted room.
The haunted room?
Yeah.
The haunted room?
Yeah. I moved my bedroom, so where we were recording before, it was like an open room. It wasn't actually a bedroom. It had no doors. It was just an old room in a granny flat. But now I have an actual door in a room.
Yeah, you're in an actual bedroom.
Except there's a ghost in here as well.
I did ask if you were going to be okay in here.
I was, until they said that.
So there used to be, there needs to be more context.
No, did they tell you about what I told them?
What did you tell them?
So like 2 or 3 nights ago.
No. You got to go back. Didn't you and someone else see?
No, that wasn't me.
So
That 2 people said they saw a face in this room.
was it in this room?
Yeah, I am skeptical. But yeah, 2 people said they saw it, but it's whatever. But like, it was a few nights ago.
That, for context purposes, this room
has
has always been like the off room and the creepy.
Okay.
Like no one wants to go in here, basically.
So you know the VIP room in Umineko? I'm pretty sure it's been mentioned before. It's like in the second game. Like Beatrice is on the island, and I think Kyrie and Maria and maybe Rosa said they saw her.
Yeah.
And like the servants kept taking like food and stuff to the VIP room. And it's like it's a room that is it was like reserved for Beatrice.
Yeah, I remember other family members seeing her, but I don't quite remember servants taking food to a VIP room.
Well, they're just in terms of like, this is like the guest room that we're in right now, or it was. I think the way we see it is like, because it's a room that had like 2 beds in here and everything. It was meant to be used and all that. But like when it's not being used for a long amount of time, and it's like a place that should entertain people, I think there's a bit of eeriness to that, and that's why people kind of like...
The dogs also used to wee in here, so it would smell
Why
too.
would the dogs be in here?
Not our dogs, the previous owner's dogs used to come and wee in here, I think.
Oh, that's great.
Because it would smell
I didn't need to
like...
know that.
It'd smell like urine. No, it's been cleaned. It's been cleaned like so many times to get the smell out. It doesn't smell anymore.
Anyway, so yeah, this room has always been eerie to us kids growing up in here, and our friends who also had to sleep in here sometimes.
I never found it eerie though when I had sleepovers as a kid in school.
Yeah, well, you hung that clown up there, and oh my goodness.
That wasn't me, was it?
Anyway, so like a few nights ago, I was just on the computer, I had headphones on, and then like I heard someone knock at the door.
You have cat hair coming out of your nose.
Nice.
It's still there.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
So, like, I've got this thing where sometimes I'll wake up to the sound of knocking or the doorbell ringing when it hasn't actually rung or no one's actually knocked. It's like some weird mental trigger that forces me to wake up. It's weird.
Oh, really?
But like for this, I was wide awake. I heard like a knock at the door. It was like a well-placed knock. There was one of 2 places. It was either like, or, and like, I was like, yep, answering it, seeing who it was. No one answered. So like after 5 seconds, I got up, checked, no one was there.
What time was it?
It would have been like 10, 11 o'clock. And like, I thought it was my brother-in-law just pranking me, because he does that kind of stuff. So I was like looking around the corners everywhere. I went around in there and stuff, and I was like,
yeah.
Where is he? Where is he hiding? And then I went out to like the living room or the dining room, and like he was talking to my sister, his wife, like way across the other side of the house, and I was like, Hold on a second.
Did you ask if they knocked on your door?
Oh, yeah, I sent him a message, like, afterwards. And he was like, nope. So I was like, well, that's kind of eerie, but it's whatever. And then, like, the light popped out.
What do you mean it popped out? Like, it physically popped out?
Yeah, it fell out of its place.
With the
So, like,
casing still on?
Yeah. So, like, I tried to turn it on, it wouldn't turn on, so I had to replace it and stuff. And, like, while I was trying to sleep, I swear I heard, like, a bang on my desk, and I was just like, I'm done. It wasn't too bad. I was just like, yeah, I don't know, it's probably some mouse or something. And then, like...
I don't know. Mouse or spider, I find it hard to sleep with in the room.
Yeah, but I was just like, that's the only thing that's going to help me sleep, thinking that there's a mouse.
True, yeah.
So I was like, yeah. But then, like, our dad came up just recently, and he said that somebody died in this room.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
That. I was like, how did you know? I was like, oh yeah, the owners told us.
So, like, I don't know. I think I've been pretty good, because I used to get really scared of stuff easily. Like, my mind would just make me terrified of everything. But I, like, living in that room for ages...
Yeah, put the scissors down. That's a bit ominous.
Living in that other room for ages, I kind of, like, trained myself to get used to it and just, like, it's probably a possum, because these are possums running around, jumping on the roof. So annoying.
Possums, they, like, sound like a human snoring.
No, they sound like the devil.
No, yeah, when they do their, like, territorial stuff, but they also have, like, a snore as well, and it sounds like you have, like a man or someone asleep in the garden.
Maybe.
Used to happen all the time. Oh, I just remember being like, there's someone out there in the garden, Mum! Just think it's just a possum.
Yeah, I've been good with scary stuff. But the night that, like, I learned that someone died here, I was just like, why did they tell me this? I can't handle it anymore.
Were you able to sleep that night?
Yeah, I slept, but it wasn't easy.
Well, I used to hear, all sounds used to sound like I was being screamed at. Like,
Well,
the
you
door
were.
was closed, and to me, I was like, oh, a particular person is screaming at me. And something else would happen, and I was like, oh, it's someone screaming at me. Turns out, it's just PTSD.
Yeah, I told you, it was just someone screaming at me. That's your boss.
No, this was... Oh, we've got Beatrice.
They did that last chapter.
Had Beatrice at the beginning.
No, they had Lambda and Burn, like, on either side.
But without saying
without
anything.
anything.
No context.
I don't remember that at all. Alright, let's get started.
We've got our creepy rain music on.
Creepy?
Yeah.
It's a nice ambiance. Erika's seat was the lowest one in rank. In other words, it was at the inferior end of the table. Since Kinzo's seat at the high end of the table was
I was
empty.
just about to ask who Erika was. I was like, I don't remember a family member with the name Erika. Why
She's
not?
been here since episode 1. If you spun the whole thing around, it sort of looked like Erika was the host of this dinner.
Interesting.
Well then, everyone. I would like to begin tonight's dinner if I may. After Goda's announcement, dinner began with the applause that had become almost customary. It was finally the beginning of the dinner orchestra, conducted by Toshiro Goda.
Oh my goodness. He's just so full of himself.
This is the narrator, and not Goda speaking.
No, but he's like, I can just see him like, yes, the applause for me, give me more,
Yeah, he probably
more.
is like that. Except for Krause's household, sitting at such a majestic dinner table was no everyday thing for these people by any means. However, they were all used to this event and acted as though it was completely normal. Once again, if anyone was to be surprised, it would have been it should have been Erika. And yet, she showed no signs of amazement at this dinner and acted with composure, blending in with everyone else. There wasn't even a sliver of the fear one might expect from someone who had wandered here like a lost puppy.
She didn't wander.
Drowned there.
Blown in from a storm. Oh, what an odd child. She doesn't seem the least bit flustered by the Ushirobia family's grandest dinner of the year. Kids these days have nerves of steel. Definitely not something I dislike.
That's a deep kitty.
Oh, really? Oh.
Is Furudo-san used to meals such as this one? She seems to be quite composed.
No kidding. She looks really experienced. Heck, I still get confused about which fork I'm supposed to use next. Was it this one or this one?
Without showing any confusion over the line of utensils in front of her, Erika gracefully ate her hors d'oeuvres. Is that right?
Hors d'oeuvres.
What?
Hors d'oeuvres.
I've never heard of it like that.
Hors d'oeuvres!
No, I've never heard it. Hideyoshi had started joking around with her, gripping a fork in each hand. Of course, the president of a company in the food service industry, like Hideyoshi, obviously knew his table manners.
Look it up on Translate. I want to know. Yes.
No, do it later.
Do it now.
Do it later.
Now.
No.
I want to know if I'm right and I don't have my phone.
However, thinking that Erika must be nervous over this dinner, he had intentionally spoken with a comic tone of voice.
You just have to start it on the outside and work your way in. If that's a pain, then just ask for some chopsticks. If you're Japanese, you've got to love chopsticks. Chopsticks are so great. Just one pair of those and you could deal with any kind of food.
Except for soup.
As soon as she began talking about chopsticks, her eyes started glittering. The smile she now showed for the first time was far different from the dignity she displayed before. More like something you'd expect from someone her age.
But even you would use a spoon for curry and rice, wouldn't you?
Just make it into a donburi bowl. Is there anyone who eats beef bowls with a spoon? Of course not. For the Japanese, it's absolutely, positively, totally chopsticks. So, Gerda-san, would you mind bringing me some chopsticks? I want to show everyone how a true Japanese person should eat without any shame. By the way, what are we eating next?
Unfortunately, that would be soup. As she imitated a shrugging gesture, Erika winked at everyone. Wahahaha, everyone. Of course, no one was laughing at her. She obviously knew that soup came after
Hors d'oeuvres.
in a full-course meal. Furthermore, Erika had noticed both that she had been performing too perfectly and creating a sense of tension, and that Hideyoshi had tried to break the ice because he thought she was nervous. That's why she started acting a little childish and light-hearted, acting out the part of a guest enjoying a harmonious dinner. Pretty soon, not only Kirie, but everyone else caught on. Though she was an uninvited guest, she was apparently worthy of participating in an Ushiromia family dinner.
Smart kid. Did she really just come here by coincidence? Don't tell me you secretly called your illegitimate child to today's family conference, Nissan.
It seems she even has the smarts to brighten the mood, and her manners are simply wonderful. It wouldn't be bad at all to have this girl as a daughter.
Oh, slap in the face for Jessica.
That's pretty cruel. Where does that leave Jessica-chan?
Exactly.
Everyone's just laughing at Jessica.
That's mean, Rudolph-Nissan. What's wrong, Jessica-chan? Headache?
I get the feeling my reputation's taking a dive.
Well, if you're a daughter of the head of family, you'd better not let her beat you. Try using those table manners and dignity Aunt Nussie's always training you with, and fight back.
I wanna see table manners. Ooh.
Hey, jumping around is bad manners. Come on, Jessica-chan. Show us how it's done.
Sure, of course.
Jessica straightened up so much it looked like someone had poked her back with a pole. She had good posture, but it somehow lacked elegance. She looked, well, kind of like a triangle ruler. She sat at attention with her gaze fixed straight ahead, tried to bring food to her mouth despite this, and failed miserably. Dad, who was sitting next to her, suddenly realized that something was up.
What's wrong, Jessica-chan? Stomachache?
Jessica turned bright red. Sorry, I can't help myself. We laughed our heads off. Jessica protested, still bright red. Aunt Natsuhi scolded us for being too improper. Well, no matter how much we try to smooth it over, we are who we are. We couldn't pretend any longer. Still, that laugh really did help us to relax. We were so concerned about the guests getting nervous, we'd gotten even more nervous ourselves. Our chatter from the center of this long table spread to both ends, and ultimately, the dinner went even more smoothly than usual. With some delicious cheese and coffee, our peaceful meal came to an end. Goto won unanimous acclaim and was praised for his skill by all present. After a short period of harmony following the meal, it was decided that we would return to the guest house. Normally, dinner tended to have a very dark atmosphere about it, and the adults would often keep that mood as they moved straight on to the family conference. However, perhaps because this year's dinner had been oddly peaceful, everyone decided to take a break, the adults included. After eating, taking a bath, and relaxing while watching TV, I wonder if they'll gather again in this mansion with all this rain and resume that high-tension family conference of theirs. I'd rather not think about it. Apparently, Aunt Ava was getting really worked up, trying to convince the rest to start the family conference right away, but it didn't look like many people agreed with her. They would probably call it quits for the night. Since they had guest house duty, Goto-san and Kumasawa-san were chosen to guide us to the guest house. It's got to be tough for Goto-san. Even after making and cleaning up such an extravagant dinner, he also has the late night shift at the guest house. I heard that Kumasawa-san, old as she was, would be going to sleep soon. It seems she was assigned a spare room.
Allow me to guide everyone to the guest house. Erika-sama, a room has also been prepared for you.
Thank you very much.
Why not rest a bit? Are you sure you feel okay?
That's right. I'd totally forgotten, but you nearly drowned and floated here, didn't you, Erika-chan? You'd probably be better off taking it easy and getting to bed early tonight. I'm perfectly fine. On the contrary, I'm so nervous and excited that I doubt I could get any sleep.
Ooh. Then let's play. Let's all play together. Let's play cards.
Maria latched onto her, giggling. This lack of restraint peculiar to youth was very much like Maria. However, we really should be concerned for Erika's physical condition now.
Maria, why don't you play cards with us? Erika One-chan is tired.
I like cards too. Please let me join you after I've had a short break.
Ooh. All right.
I'm pretty sure my Erika voice is just one of those stakes.
Who is that?
As she passed through the lobby of the entrance hall, Erika stopped walking. When we saw what she was looking at, the rest of us also stopped.
Oh, that is the Golden Witch, Beatrice-sama.
The Golden Witch.
What are you doing, brats? Go on and head back to the guest house.
Dad, Kirie-san, Aunt Ava, Uncle Hideyoshi, and Aunt Rosa all came over. The entire guest house party had gathered. However, Erika's gaze was captured by the portrait of the witch, and she simply stared at it for a while. That'd be Jessica, I think.
You reckon?
Yeah,
At the bar?
they're in the guest house lobby.
Yeah, supposedly Dad has a stash of kidney gold worth 20... No, but it's Dad. It would be one of the children.
Yeah, you're right.
So we got 4 options.
Rudolph?
Probably Riddle, yeah.
Yeah, supposedly Dad has a stash of hidden gold worth 20 billion yen, and this epitaph shows you where that gold's hidden.
Perhaps it was too early for them all to disperse into their individual rooms, because the relatives who had returned to the guest house all gathered on the first floor, continuing their chat. The topic was the witch's epitaph, which Erica had taken an interest in.
It really is a fascinating riddle. You stuck it out in a place where anyone could see it, challenging our intelligence. I love that kind of challenge.
Whoa, you seem surprisingly interested, Erica-chan. Do you like solving riddles or something?
Don't challenges like this seem interesting? It seems pretty clear that Kinzo-san wants to use that epitaph to choose his successor.
When she said that, the adult stopped moving. It slowly turned to face Erica.
Why do you think that?
Aunt Ava spoke with a coaxing voice. Though every now and then there had been whisperings among the relatives that whoever solved the epitaph's riddle might be given the family inheritance. This had been no more than wishful thinking, since such a thing had never been specifically stated. And yet, though she had only read it once, this outsider had already reached that conclusion. How had she come to it? No, that's not the problem. If you solve the epitaph, you can become the next head. She wasn't trying to make it sound like wishful thinking, but an outright fact. So they closed in around Erica, asking why she was so sure.
It's fairly common for an extremely rich person to relinquish his or her wealth to the solver of some sort of riddle. Furthermore, Kinzo-san didn't publish this epitaph in a newspaper, but displayed it in his mansion. That means the riddle is directed at the people in this mansion.
You're right. Since it's inside the mansion, there's no way for someone who can't enter the mansion to solve it. So, that means Grandfather's been challenging the people here.
Good. Well thought. Just by the simple fact that the epitaph's inside the mansion, it's possible to figure out that much.
At first, this Furudo Erica girl seemed to be the fairly silent type, but that apparently wasn't the case. As she grew excited by a challenge to a game of wits, she became much more talkative than I'd imagined.
I see. Well, it does make sense that an epitaph inside a mansion would be there so that people in the mansion could read it.
But can you really be sure that the one who solves it will be given the headship too? If the treasure gained by solving the riddle were something small, I wouldn't even have considered that.
That's right. The hidden gold is worth 20 billion. You might consider that gold itself to be the wealth of the Uchiyomiya family.
Inheriting something like that would be almost the same as inheriting the Uchiyomiya family itself. In other words, this riddle of the gold's hiding place, buried within the epitaph, is nothing less than a way of selecting the de facto successor of the Uchiyomiya family.
The idea that the one who solved the epitaph would be chosen as the successor had been passed around by some of the relatives for a while now. However, since it had never been specifically announced, it was nothing more than an optimistic dream. Thinking this, they decided to abandon all consideration of this point until the details were made clear. Erica had clearly declared that this uncertain point was, in fact, true. If one of the relatives had said it, people would have thought it to be merely an optimistic dream. However, when this was declared by a complete outsider, those words seemed even more credible. Everyone remained silent for a while, slowly considering what those words implied.
Simply by the existence of the epitaph in that place, this level of reasoning is possible for Furudo Erica. What do you think, everyone?
I messed up a line.
Sorry to butt in, but my dad's the successor. Finding the gold would be one thing, but that doesn't mean you get to be the head, right?
Jessica thought the treasure hunting part of the epitaph was really fun. However, she couldn't help but let her expression grow bitter once they started talking about undermining her father's position.
By using deductive reasoning based upon my theory, it seems likely that Kinzo's son doesn't want the successor, Kraus' son, to inherit that position too smoothly.
Why is that?
Becoming the head of the Ushiremiya family with all of the vast wealth it entails would mean gaining a great deal of influence in a political sense. So, under normal circumstances, the succession should be overseen rigorously, without letting any element of chance creep into the equation.
That's right. It happens a lot in those stories about Sengoku military commanders that my husband loves. When there are multiple candidates for the successor, it usually results in an internal squabble.
That's right. That's why it's important to clearly specify a successor, so you can avoid any trouble. Sometimes there's even a purge of all the competing successors.
The Sengoku commander Hideyoshi admired, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, made his son-in-law Hidetsugu commit seppuku, but it was rumored that he might have done this to make Hideyori, who was his real son, and born after Hidetsugu, his true heir. In other words, naming a successor was a way to make it generally known that a single unique person would be acknowledged by everyone, and a way to remove any chance of another person becoming an opposing candidate.
Good. That's exactly right. The only purpose for an epitaph like that would be to cast doubt on Kraus-san's position of the successor. In other words, if Kinzo-san wanted Kraus-san to become the head smoothly, he'd have no reason to go out of his way and display something so dangerous for all to see.
That's right. If you spin the chessboard around, you certainly could say that. It would be odd if he handed over the position of the head normally, but only handed over the 20 billion yen in gold to the person who solves the riddle.
Kinzo would pass on the title of family head, but he would only give up the 20 billion yen in gold to the person who solved the epitaph. You really couldn't call this passing on the headship in the truest sense.
That's how it is. By this theory, we are able to doubt whether Kinzo-san truly acknowledged Kraus-san as his successor.
I can't say successor.
Simply by the existence of the epitaph in that place, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erika. What do you think, Jessica-san?
What the hell? How do you call that reasoning? That's bullcrap. It's screwed up.
Jessica let her emotions lay bare and glared at Erika. Erika, on the other hand, looked exceedingly calm with an expression that said, "Well, that's just the truth, right?" I see. It looks like table manners aren't the only way this girl is fitting for the Ushiremiya family. It seems she really does match the family, even when it'd be better if she didn't.
Okay, take it easy, Jessica. And Erika, let's leave it at that for now. Well, we can put all this successor stuff to the side for now. Anyway, there's no doubt that his father's big question for us. Wahaha! It's 20 billion yen! Maria-chan, what did you use it for if you found it? Wahaha!
Ooh. The Golden Land isn't just gold. It's a sacred place.
Uncle Hideyoshi kept trying to force himself to chuckle and improve the mood. Everyone else tried to play along, but Jessica's mood didn't get any better.
So, Erika-chan, would you like to have a go at the Epitaph's riddle? Yes. My little grey cells are itching to get started. I'd like to start solving as soon as possible.
George Aniki smoothly turned the conversation around. Just like the time she'd made everyone laugh in the dining hall, Erika looked about with gleeful eyes and jumped at the chance.
Isn't this like basically announcing I'm gonna come after your inheritance though?
See.
She's just said that if you solve the riddle, you become the head basically because you've inherited all of that money.
Yep. But
and
how has that gone in the past? All their discussions about this kind of stuff, they always say whoever finds it, in the back of their minds they're like, whoever finds it is the inheritor. But because if someone else finds it, they're not the inheritor. So they're kind of like 50-50. They're like, if I find it, I am the inheritor. If they find it, they're not the inheritor. That's not what it meant. That's not the epitaph. So like, if she found it, they wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you're the inheritor of the Yushiramiya family. They're gonna have their family politics going around.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no way they would let Erika, you know.
I like it. Well, since Erika seems so interested, let's all try and solve it together, just like last year.
I'll make some coffee. Raise your hand if you want some. Not for you, Maria. You won't be able to sleep.
You can see Maria being like, ooh, 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 I want to drink black coffee.
Don't they get you excited? Riddles like this? I love them.
Erika said that and smiled. Though she must have known that she'd ticked Jessica off, and made the atmosphere sour, she just smiled nonchalantly.
See, without even waiting for the crime on October 5th, there is a riddle you can solve.
Well, I guess they were talking about the epitaph.
I've tried to solve it many times myself, but you didn't have a clue, so you gave up and stopped thinking. Right? It pissed me off, but I don't have a good counter for that. After all, I don't get the epitaph at all. I don't even know what the beloved hometown means, much less the parts about the Sweetfish River and the key. Thinking that a few more hints would show up if I waited, I kept on waiting and just stopped thinking. Have you figured out an answer of your own? Because I'm about to solve it.
Ooh.
What?
This is what Burns solved the riddle of the epitaph. I'd expect no less from the Witch of Miracles. If a riddle is solvable, she can solve it without fail, regardless of the difficulty. How many years did it take to solve this one?
That's rude. I only fished through a few hundred fragments.
You really are terrifying.
You aren't going to cheat by suddenly saying the answer in red or something like that, right? Don't worry. Just like you, I followed the rules as a player. Well, shall we begin? It's cramped in here. Why don't we talk over the sea?
Okay. Don't get queasy, Battler.
What do you mean, the sea?
Full.
I know, I can already see this.
I thought the whole world had turned pitch black, and the next moment, I was struck by a strange floating sensation. This must be what it feels like to suddenly have the floor drop from under you, sending you into a bottomless pit.
It's Gop.
When I looked, I saw that the two witches and I had been thrown into a pitch-black universe. In this space, every direction was covered in an endless darkness, and it felt like a limitless expanse filled with countless glittering objects. Some people might have likened it to the depths of an ocean where innumerable sparkling fragments drifted.
Whoa! Didn't she tell you not to get queasy?
If you want the concept of gravity, just create it yourself, okay? Come on, come down and look at us. Come on, don't we look like we're just fine? Believe that your feet are on the ground and that you're being controlled by gravity. If you do that, you'll find your equilibrium.
Yes, the two witches are standing normally, as if their feet were planted on transparent pieces of glass. I'm the only one floating about like someone in a rapidly plummeting elevator. When I saw that they were doing just fine, I started calming down, figuring that there was no need to be scared. Then, just as Lambda Delta said, I gritted my teeth and kept telling myself that there was a place to stand here, and that I had to stay calm. Whoa!
Very good, very good. What's your name?
Ushiremiya Battler. Who else do I look like?
I okay, you mustn't lose your will, emotions, or form. After all, this is the ocean. If you lose your purpose, you'll fall into the depths of eternity and become a scrap of ocean seaweed. Be careful.
I don't get what Lamdadel's is saying, but I should calm down for the time being. It seems that I regain my equilibrium the more I calm down. Gradually, that weird floating feeling like I was falling forever began to disappear. It still felt strange, like trying to stand up straight at the bottom of a deep pool, but it was much better than before. Then let's begin. I'll weave together some fragments for solving the riddle of the Epitaph. Berncastel opened both of her hands. Then, like a planetarium, all of the fragments throughout this empty space began to spin, leaving tails behind them.
Was this in that anime?
No, they never got up to episode 5.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it would be really interesting to see how they animate this part.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean, oh yeah?
Don't worry. The expression planetarium might have been surprisingly fitting.
You don't think it would be interesting to see how they do it?
I can't say. Multiple fragments were tied together by gold lines, and what looked like constellations zoomed by us rapidly, one after another. It felt almost as though we were dashing through space at an incredible speed. Then, with the tails of light drifting behind them, several brightly glowing fragments swirled around Berncastel. It looked almost like she'd created her own solar system with her as the sun. That solar system surrounding Berncastel grew to a radius large enough to swallow us up. And every once in a while, one of those satellite fragments zoomed right past me. When those fragments passed by me, it felt as though some kind of memory welled up inside me. So I sensed it. These fragments are probably like a crystallization of memories.
They aren't memories. They're fragments of worlds. Well, I guess they might feel like memories to you.
Then let's begin. Let's start with this fragment. One of the satellites in this solar system was slowly sucked into an inward trajectory with Berncastel at the center. After drawing a spiral and approaching her, it settled down on the palm of Berncastel's outstretched hand. Then it glittered brightly, painting over the world with pure white.
Is this Ava?
Yeah, it's young Ava.
Oh, I can't remember young Ava's voice. The beloved hometown definitely won't betray our expectations. The only past father held did happen during his childhood years.
I remember that. This is from the third game when Aunt Ava was just about to solve the riddle of the Epitaph, and was thinking it over with this witch inside her or whatever. That's right. And from these thoughts she made her way to the correct answer. In other words, this fragment shows a vital hint for reaching the truth. It means that this theory is not mistaken. So, you're saying we should assume this beloved hometown isn't a metaphor or anything like that? But the place grandfather actually spent his youth? That's right. And at the very least, it isn't Odawara.
Odawara is definitely where he was born, but I don't think that's the hometown he loved. I imagine all of our siblings have the same place in mind.
Right. This is probably not Odawara. From what I've heard, he had a very fun time as a youth.
Odawara.
That's right. Aunt Ava and her siblings said it wasn't Odawara. And not only that, it looks like everyone guessed where grandfather's hometown was. Right. And annoyingly, the actual location isn't spoken of in any of the fragments.
Well, duh. If I told you that, there'd be too many hints. If it wasn't a hard riddle, there'd be no point to it. Uh-oh, that's a hint too.
Just where is this hometown of grandfather's? We can't even start if we don't know that. You mean you couldn't start, so you stopped thinking? Since it had to be a place where he could have lived, the number of possibilities is limited. Well, this is the toughest part. You were the witch who could certainly solve any riddle that could be solved, weren't you? So you took those limited possibilities, in other words, everywhere on the earth, and considered every single piece of land that grandfather might have lived on? That would work too, but that way no amount of time would be enough. So, I needed to take some more hints into consideration to wring out the answer.
Didn't you say it yourself? You said it didn't have to be a river with water flowing down it. If the word sweetfish is too complicated, why not forget it? Think of a river. Linking it with a family tree wasn't a bad idea. Try thinking about how to link a river with something else along those lines.
A sweetfish river running through the hometown. However, this river isn't truly a river. Ava thought of something else, something that could be linked with a river. Sure, but if it isn't a river, then why the sweetfish? Think, a river that runs through the hometown. But it isn't a river with water running down it. Something that can be linked to a river. Behold the Sweetfish River running through the beloved hometown. Ava knew where the hometown was, so she could forget about the Sweetfish hint. However, since we don't know where it is, this could be a hint for us.
Gun-wielding sisters.
I worried too much about the Sweetfish River. The Sweetfish part didn't really matter that much at all, did it?
That isn't true. It was an excellent hint, wasn't it? Well, of course, maybe there was no need for it to be sweetfish.
What are these sweetfish? If the river isn't a literal river, then of course, sweetfish probably doesn't mean the kind of fish that swims.
Yeah, and on top of that, Rosa tossed it aside, saying that sweetfish weren't that significant.
On the other hand, Ava said it wasn't important for them to be sweetfish, but that it was still an excellent hint. In other words, the sweetfish is a key to make you think of something else. If that something is a different word, but a word that sweetfish make you think of, then Ava's line about how it probably didn't have to be sweetfish makes sense. From these thoughts, Aunt Ava formed some theory. Went to the library, looked through some books, and verified that she was right. In short, Aunt Ava formed some theory about the true nature of this Sweetfish River running through her hometown. Then she opened a certain book to determine whether that theory was correct or not. In other words, this theory was something that could be verified through some kind of book. Also, after she figured out what the Sweetfish River was, she figured out the rest of the riddle very quickly. Good thinking. The epitaph continues on, saying, "As you travel down the river, you will see a village." At that point in time, Ava hadn't yet solved the 3 lines starting with this one.
What is this village? What does it mean? Do you find one if you go down the river? Right before my eyes, the pieces that I hadn't been able to understand at all began to into place all by themselves. I couldn't even remember to close my open mouth. My throat grew completely dry. Is it really okay for this to be the answer? Really? Really?
So, if we figure out what the Sweetfish River running through the hometown is, that leads us directly to an understanding the as you travel down the river, you will see a village stuff, and then we get the key to the Golden Land. Correct. And we know that because even Ava didn't know what the village meant until she checked the book. Damn it. Just what is this book?
What is the book?
But this isn't 6 characters at all.
I'm absolutely sure this is the answer, but this doesn't reach 6 characters at all.
Did you stop thinking again? In that case, think of a way you could read it with 6 characters. If you can't think of one, then research it. There has to be an answer. You must not doubt that. Oh, is believing in that too much for you? If you only just cry yourself to sleep and then you can just give up and die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 6 characters. I've found it. This is the key to the Golden Land.
You could have figured all this stuff out.
You kind of stopped thinking about it after the second episode, I reckon, about how to solve the Epitaph, because you were more worried about the murders.
The third episode.
After the third episode, when you got to the 4th episode, you stopped thinking about the Epitaph.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. It's always been there. It's always been a key point.
Well, there was too many distractions. Is that what this author is king of? King of distractions and twisted logic?
I don't know.
Then Ava found the key to the Golden Land.
Yeah. And this key was somehow some kind of word number or string of characters. 6 characters long.
And that's it. If we know the key's true identity as 6 characters, the meaning of the First Twilight changes drastically.
On the First Twilight, after the 6 chosen by the key is sacrifices. The 6 chosen by the key. 6 characters! In other words, it means to sacrifice the 6 characters chosen by the key on the First Twilight.
This key indicates a certain group of 6 people. No, we should say it indicates a certain group of 6 things. If this doesn't mean a literal command to offer sacrifices, for example, it could be an anagram.
An anagram? Do you mean playing with letters?
Hey, the answers are all just handed out to you, I'm telling you. Yes, Kirie-san had been thinking that way ever since that moment.
Yeah, but did you get it when you first read
Oh,
it?
obviously not.
On the second Twilight, there are those who remain, which means that at the very least, the something has a limited number of characters. You could read it like it's telling you to continue with the remaining characters after the first 6 characters are removed.
I am liking this background music though. It's yes, we're gonna solve it and give us the answers.
I think it's been there before. I think it was in episode 3.
It just fits this context. I'm like, come on, give me the answers. I wanna know.
In other words, on the First Twilight, we take a list of characters that's longer than 6, kill the 6 that are the key, and then do something with the characters that remain.
That's right. But, like Kirie said, what should we kill the characters from? We don't know this longer string of characters that we're supposed to be killing from.
On the First Twilight, kill the 6 characters that are the key. On the First Twilight. In other words, by the time we reach the First Twilight, some string of characters already exists. That might be a set of Japanese characters, but knowing grandfather's tastes, could it be something in English? The First Twilight has more than 6 characters, even though the Japanese phrase just has 4. I'm not reading that.
Good. That idea of yours isn't bad, Battler-san. We can interpret the 6 sacrifices chosen by the key as a string of 6 characters. I think it's a very clever concept. That way, the key doesn't necessarily have to be key-shaped.
I've also considered the possibility that it's an anagram.
Come to think of it, you did say something like that before. But in that case, where do we take the 6 characters out from?
That's right. Since we're taking 6 characters out, it must be at least 6 characters long. We need to read those kanji in some way that gives it more than 6 characters. My kanji is so bad. All I've got is it ichi in there or just the extended? We don't know. No, something.
I recognize them, I just don't know what they mean.
I feel like that's D in Chinese, but I might be getting my Chinese wrong too.
If we follow Father's sensibilities, I guess it probably is English after all. If it looks like we're getting stuck, why don't we move on to the second Twilight and look for hints? Those who remain shall tear apart the two who were close. We can probably think of those who remain as the remaining characters after the first 6 have been taken out. In that case, what does it mean by 2 characters that are close? I see. I get it. So that's what this is about. For example, let's take the following list of 9 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then let's say that the 6 characters offered as sacrifices are 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9. In this case, we erase the aforementioned 6 characters from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and get 2, 4, 5.
So, 2, 4, and 5 are left. So what?
Oh, 4 and 5 are close.
Yeah, I get it. So the 2 who are close are...
2, 4, 5. Yep, that's Phoenix right.
Yep, there's a gap between 2 and 4, but 4 and 5 are right next to each other. They're the 2 who are close. Good. Well done, Battler-san. We can't tell whether tear apart means to crush 4 and 5, or to put a gap between them, but I think that's a good observation.
Then what do you think about the third Twilight? Those who remain shall praise my noble name.
Since there's a good chance that we're playing with letters, this might be the same thing. The characters that remain shall praise my noble name. That's tough. What could it mean? Does anyone know? I think I do.
What is it? Tell me.
Is this also an anagram? Once again, good. Battler-san, you're a pretty flexible thinker.
When you have the information handed out to you on a plate.
Well, I don't know. It's like old Battler was just didn't think about anything, and now he's just like, I'm a genius.
Old Battler was all useless. It's all useless.
Incompetence.
By anagram, you mean playing with letters, right? That means...
In other words, maybe you can make some kind of word by changing the order of the remaining letters.
Yeah, if so, I might be getting ahead of myself with this theory, but maybe the original list of characters that the first Twilight's removed from is 11 characters long. Well done again. I reached the same conclusion.
Why's that? Why do you think there are 11 characters?
We think killing a single sacrifice means crushing a single character. If we interpret the tear apart of the second Twilight to mean adding a gap between 2 characters, then there are 11 characters total. If tear apart means to crush those 2 characters, then we can assume that there are 13 characters. After all, from the 4th Twilight to the 8th Twilight, the word kill appears 5 times. And then, on the 9th Twilight, it's written that none will be left alive. If we ignore the part about the witch reviving for now, I figured that after crushing the first 6, separating the characters that are close, and then crushing 5 more of them, there should be no characters left.
So that makes 6 plus 5, or 11 characters.
If tearing apart the 2 who are close in the second Twilight means to kill both of them, that makes 6 plus 2 plus 5, or 13 characters. There's a chance the word symbolizing the first Twilight has 11 or 13 characters. Wait, it couldn't be that easy, could it? Wonderfully done. That's the exact same theory I thought of. It looks like you were gifted with an excellent little grey cells just like me, Battler-san. Hey, quit it. Just doing what comes naturally. Hey, what the hell? The piece me is pretty damn smart. There's no room left for me to make theories.
Oh, Battler, no.
Oh, sorry about that. You weren't around at this point, so I just controlled your thoughts. Isn't it nice how smart I made you look?
You look smarter when Burn's playing you. Why not step down as the player and concentrate on being a piece instead?
I joined in on this game partway through, well after the first murders occurred on the 5th, October 5th. That means the piece called me was also controlled by the player, Burn Castell. So I guess that means it's possible for Bernkastel's reasoning to be announced through my mouth. The game I'm watching now is nothing more than a replay of a part that's already ended.
That's right, people were dead.
Mm-hmm. Battle's just watching the recap.
Yeah, pretty much.
However, that's probably good enough for now. After all, this Bernkastel summer's going out of her way to solve the Epitaph for me. I'll watch closely for now. And I'll try to find out what it means. Lambda Delta let it slip herself just a second ago.
Well, duh. If I told you that, there'd be too many hints. If it wasn't a hard riddle, there'd be no point to it. Uh-oh, that's a hint too.
This theory about grandfather creating the Epitaph in order to choose a successor isn't bad at all. Erica and Bernkastel's logic is extremely reasonable. But that's only if we assume grandfather was the one to create it. He was probably alive at the time the Epitaph was displayed. But of course, grandfather is already dead by 1986. And in the games up until now, Beatrice threatened us repeatedly with letters, saying that the only way to survive was to solve the Epitaph, and trying to force us to solve the riddle. In other words, it was Beatrice's intention, her hope, that we would try solving the riddle of the Epitaph. The Epitaph's so confusing that, in most cases, the relatives never seriously tried solving it until the threatening letters started to arrive. That's why Beatrice fired the starting pistol that made us take a go at it. Why is Beatrice carrying out grandfather's will after his death? Like the theory proposed in the first game, is Beatrice really grandfather's confidant? Who's following his orders even after his death and trying to select the successor with the riddle of the Epitaph in grandfather's stead? If she did that, it would mean Beatrice really was Kinzo's trusted underling, the family alchemist she claimed to be in that letter. After grandfather's death, Beatrice managed the 10 tons of gold and took the title of alchemist. She was entrusted with the Epitaph's riddle, and without ever embezzling the gold, she waited for the human fitting to be the successor to appear and solve it. And if that human didn't appear within a set time limit, would that be game over? Certainly, Aunt Ava, who solved the riddle in the third game, became the only survivor and, automatically, the final head of the Ushiromiya family, inheriting everything. Up until now, no one has ever survived past October 5th, except Aunt Ava, the one who solved the Epitaph. That was the only case where Beatrice let anyone survive. Is Beatrice's loyalty to grandfather the thing that drove her? Was she so loyal that she faithfully carried out some terrible order to kill everyone if the Epitaph wasn't solved? I must not stop thinking. Don't stop thinking. Don't just think of the riddle itself. Think about why it's significant. Why is Beatrice telling us to solve the Epitaph? Why is she making us solve such a confusing Epitaph? If Beatrice makes us try and solve this Epitaph, we have no real chance of solving. And by some lucky chance, a miracle occurs and someone is able to solve it. What significance would that have to her? I don't know. What such a miracle would be worth to Beata? Anyway, until we figure out the first Twilight, we'll have to give up on the rest. We tried looking at it from several different angles, but in the end we got stuck there and made no further advances. Maria let out an extra large yawn. This caused several other people to yawn.
No, don't start. No. It's making me want to yawn.
We'd been using our heads so much that everyone had gotten a little sleepy. Jessica, who'd been silent and irritated the whole time, quickly stood up.
I'm going upstairs with Maria. We'll watch TV or something.
Okay, I'll go up too. Hey, why don't we all play cards upstairs? When George proposed this, Maria completely forgot about that big yawn of hers and started jumping around, insisting that she wanted to play cards.
According to the clock, it was already 10 at night. It was already about the time you'd normally take a bath and get ready for sleep. Even the adults seemed pretty weary from traveling. We decided to continue this later and went our separate ways. Will you play cards with us too, Erika-chan?
I appreciate the sentiment. I overstepped my bounds a little, forgetting that I'm a simple guest. I'd like to take it easy and rest for the night. I almost forgot I was recently in an accident.
Seriously? You're in such high spirits it's hard to believe you almost drowned.
That's youth for you. Still, I enjoyed it. I think we've taken a big step in our reasoning thanks to you. If I find the gold, I'll let you have about 1,000,000 yen worth.
Wahahaha! Can't you at least offer the poor girl 100 million? Gahahaha!
No need to bother. I'm only interested in solving the riddle. Well then, if you'll excuse me. Good night.
Yeah, night.
Oh, you aren't going upstairs, Butler-kun?
I'm getting a bit interested. I think I'll think things through here just a bit longer. If I can just figure out the list of characters that marks the first Twilight, I bet the road before me will open up all at once. Everyone went up to the second floor one by one. Only Aunt Rosa remained behind, cleaning up the coffee cups everyone had been drinking out of. Kirie's son and some of the others had offered to help, but Rosa had refused and was washing them all alone. Since I had just been treated to such delicious coffee, I decided to help too. I wasn't just doing it because I felt obligated. I wanted to keep discussing the Epitaph with someone. The first Twilight. The first Twilight. Aunt Rosa, have you thought of some list of characters, or a word?
No, I don't have a clue. But instead of the first Twilight, it's the 10th Twilight that bugs me.
The 10th Twilight? What about it?
Well, at the end here it says you'll receive the Golden Land's 4 treasures, once and for the last time, right?
Yeah, it does.
Why mention that you're reaching the Golden Land just once, and then say it's for the last time? It's almost as though he's repeating the same thing twice. I've just been wondering whether he had some reason for putting it like that.
You're right. Like he said, there's got to be a more straightforward way of thinking or saying that. That line should have been a key part of the riddle, where you wouldn't expect the writer to waste words needlessly. Could it have been done for some special purpose?
Still, you and that Erika-chan girl are incredible. Your minds really are flexible. I'm already an old lady, and my brain just doesn't work that fast. That theory about the 6 chosen by the key signifying 6 characters to be removed was very impressive.
After hearing that, I can't see it as being any other way. Is this Rosa or Bella?
Don't know.
Yeah, it might be Rosa.
After hearing that, I can't see it as being any other way, but before then, I didn't think it was like that at all. I'm feeling let down by my own dull mind.
That's not true. You've got a flexible mind yourself, Aunt Rosa. This last time thing might be really important somewhere down the line.
Not at all. My mind's very stiff. Up until now, I've always thought that this first Twilight was nothing more than a place 1/10 of the way on a road to the Golden Land.
What's that? Sounds interesting. Mind telling me about it?
After all, in the line before the first Twilight, it says you must travel to the Golden Land, right? The next part describes a journey that lasts 10 days, so I thought the first Twilight would be part of the way through that journey.
A journey? I see.
Then the journey begins, and when you set up camp at the first Twilight, you offer the 6 as sacrifices. So, where would that place be? How many kilometers from the starting point? Please don't tell anyone about your aunt's silly ideas, okay? When I first saw that part about attaining to the treasures of the Golden Land, I just assumed it was more of the same. Typically, attaining treasures would mean obtaining them, but I thought it meant reaching or arriving at some place. Some place 10 days away from Father's hometown where all these treasures might be found. Are you kidding? That's a brilliant idea. And the First Twilight is the first stop on that 10-day journey. The name of that place might be the key to moving forward. For my 10-day theory to work, you'd have to know both the start point and the end point. I know the start point. I know the hometown Father loved. The place Father spent his time when he was a boy really far away. But the problem is the goal, the Golden Land. What does that really mean? If we don't know that, my theory gets us nowhere. I've been stuck at this spot for a long time. But after listening to your reasoning today, I've realized that what an embarrassing mistake I've been making. No, I think that's still an interesting idea. A start and a goal, a 10-day journey, and the place reached at the very first twilight. Believe it or not, I think you might solve this one easily, Battler-kun. If you do solve it with your aunt's hint, share some with me. Even 5% would be great. It's a promise. Despite being my aunt, she gave me a smile and a wink, which would have made a man's heart jump. As I helped her wash the coffee cups, I kept pondering the Epitaph's riddle in the silence. After I finished helping Aunt Rosa, I passed through the corridor on my way to the bathroom, and saw Erica unlocking the door to a room on my path. I thought your room was on the second floor. Figured you'd gone upstairs and had fallen asleep by now. I was just searching for something. I thought it might be here. Searching for something? Erica unlocked the door and opened it. A dusty smell drifted out. It was the library. For a library, the gaps between the bookshelves were extremely small. This was obviously built for storing books, not reading them. So, it's a book you're searching for? Not necessarily a book, but materials, I guess you could say. There's something I've just got to look up. You're looking for something to do with the Epitaph's riddle. Pretty impressive that you haven't given up yet. Is the 20 billion yen that enticing? I hadn't given up either. Apparently being stubborn is something we both share. Of course not. I'm only interested in solving puzzles. I search for the gold only to prove my reasoning correct. Even if I found it, I wouldn't pocket it for myself, so have no fears on that score. She immediately cast my comment aside, saying that she just liked solving riddles and had no interest at all in the gold. I thought she was pretty weird from the start, and it looks like that impression was spot on. Erica slowly circled the bookshelves, searching for the book she was after. I'm also trying to solve the Epitaph right now. Oh yeah, just a second ago I heard something interesting from Aunt Rosa, which might give us a hint about the First Twilight. Let me hear it. Erica asked with this without stopping her search, or even turning to face me. In the line before the First Twilight, it says that one who obtains the key must do so-and-so. The one who obtains the key must then travel to the Golden Land in accordance with these rules. Whoa, you've already got it memorized? Guess I shouldn't be so surprised. And what about that? Yeah, you've got to travel to the Golden Land, right? Apparently this made Aunt Rosa think about the 10th Twilight. In other words, going on a 10-day journey from the beloved homeland to the Golden Land. Actually, I'd already noticed that myself. You'd start from the place reached on the first day of the 10-day journey. That's where you take the sacrifices from. Yeah, that's what Aunt Rosa thought of too. I think the theory is pretty intriguing. We're looking for the place you'd reach on the first day of a 10-day journey. That bit of land, or else the name of that region, might be a key. I also guessed that the place's name might be a key. That's why I'm looking for materials. I want to turn my guess into certainty. Just what are you looking for? Then Erica's hand suddenly stopped, and she slowly pulled it out. As she dusted it off, she finally looked at me and spoke. It's an atlas.
Harry Potter.
Wait, is that the end?
Uh-huh.
I didn't get my answer! I want to know what happened.
You won't get it until next chapter.
10 o'clock.